Hey everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns. We have just a little bit of downtime. I'm waiting for some new products to come in for review. So while we're doing that, I thought I'd go over some airgun, popular Replica airgun pistols, by design type, by style. This doesn't mean that these are the only ones or the in order of actual popularity. And a lot of it has to do with what people like in terms of the real steel version. So even though these are air guns that I'm showing you, and I find them very popular, specifically in the store and just people talking about air guns online and on YouTube and whatnot, and Vimeo, all those places. In general, what you're going to find is that what you see in the movies and the television series or the streaming series of shows, whatever's kind of popular there, tends to kind of become popular in real life. So I don't know if that has to do with one influencing the other, or maybe they both influence each other, or maybe there's a lot of gun companies out there putting a bunch of promotional money or advertising into these shows. I don't know, but they do reflect on each other for sure. So let's get into, again, not necessarily this is the end-all be-all list. This is just kind of my take on it. And I'm going to obviously be showing you the air gun equivalents or paintball equivalents or whatever they might be, airsoft, BB gun, pellet gun equivalents. So, all right, so let's start off with the Glock. Now, Glock has been around for a bit. It's probably one of the more popular guns out there you see in TV and film. It's been out there for a long time now. It was like one of the first polymer type receiver guns and plastic guns or whatever you want to call it. They kind of came out and really took the screen, blocky gun, sort of squared off look. But it sort of brought out the more modernized pistols. Before that, you would see a lot of Berettas. You'd see a lot of 1911s, some SIGs and stuff. Not too many times. I mean, you wouldn't see Glocks at all until they started coming out with them. But there's different versions of Glock. This is the Glock 17. I've got the Glock 19 here. This is just a more compact version. You've got all kinds of different Glocks available now. They've come out with multiple versions of them. They kind of all look the same, to be honest, with just small cosmetic changes. The basic design for Glock you're going to find is to be very similar throughout the whole product line. All right, moving on to SIG. Right here I have the P226, right? Very popular pistol. They've got the P228, a little more compact. Nice gun. This is the SIG. This is actually from Sig Sauer. So this one is distributed through Sig Sauer. They do that, which is kind of cool. Very iconic gun, tall, but actually somewhat narrow, like a 1911 is fairly narrow from side to side, but the SIG is definitely chunkier on top. Most of the time you're going to find these in mostly all metal build. I have the X5 here. This is like a railgun design. This one goes back quite a bit, full blowback BB air gun. Very cool gun. Was very popular back in the day when I first started coming out with these guns. Don't know if you can even still get it these days. I'm not even sure, but this was really cool. The X5 PP2. This is a PP26 again. We'll put this down here. Moving on, it's going to be a little bit of a toss-up between Beretta and 1911s. They kind of fit in the same landscape. And I'm going to go with 1911 just because it's been around for so long. This is your classic 1911 that you'd find military 1911. Very straightforward, nothing fancy, fixed sights. There's nothing really that crazy about it. No skeletonized anything. This is kind of how it came, right? Nothing too ergonomic about it. But again, it's pretty thin profile, which even though it's a big heavy gun, it's fairly thin, which does make it somewhat more concealable than people imagine. Obviously you have them in different versions. This is the more modernized version, right? It's got all the bells and whistles, tactical stuff that you'd find in today's pistols. I guess the biggest downside to a standard 1911 is that it has a single stack magazine. So typically 7 rounds, 1 in the chamber, 8 rounds. So whereas Glocks, they can hold, double 18, 19 rounds. So there's a lot double stack magazines. On that said, there are 1911s that are double stack. I actually own a 1911 that has a double stack magazine, and it holds, I believe, 10 rounds. So you get a couple, 3 extra rounds in there. But they're such large capacity, not large capacity, but large diameter ammunition that you're even if you have a double stack, you're not going to get that many in it. All right, moving on to the Beretta. We've got a lot of these Beretta 92s now. This is a Taurus, so this is Taurus's version of the Beretta 92. It has the safety in a slightly different location, but they're very similar in design. This would be the actual Beretta configuration with the safety on the slide versus the safety on the frame with the Taurus version. And you know, the neat thing about these guns that makes them kind of unique is they have that open slide, right? So you can see the barrel, the cutout slide. You can see the barrel. That's kind of what is their trademark. And that even kind of passes down into their Beretta 84. I believe it's a Beretta 84. Similar open slide area, right? With you can see the barrel and all that. Just kind of a smaller version of a Beretta 92. All right, so moving on to Smith & Wesson. This is the M&P 40, so this would be the 40 cal version. Not actually this gun, this is a BB replica of the 40 cal version. And then we have a standard MP9 here, but this is you'll see the barrel sizes. This is a paintball version. So what was it, .42 caliber, something like that, .43, sorry. .43 caliber paintball, okay? Basically very similar looking guns. The M&Ps, Smith & Wesson M&Ps, even though they come in different calibers, really don't look that different from one another. They're going to have slightly different cosmetic features as they get newer too. All right, moving on to the Makarov. So if you're watching some sort of a movie with Russian characters and actors, you're going to find probably one of two guns. The Makarov, which is the most popular. This gun's been around for ages as well. I don't know if I have, oh, there we go. This gun's been around for ages. This one happens to be like a double stack magazine type. There's different versions of Makarovs. But you're also going to find the Tokarev. I don't have one on the table here. Tokarev is kind of, looks a lot like a 1911. It's sort of the Russian version of a 1911. Fairly thin, a little smaller than a 1911, but it kind of has similarities to the 1911. That's another popular Russian pistol. So here's another version of the Makarov. This is Umarex's version. This is a KWC version. One's full blowback, one's just like a standard non-blowback, but with a working slide. And that kind of brings me to the PPK. I couldn't miss out on the PPK. You know, if you're a fan of the Bond movies, you know, pretty early on they started using PPKs in a lot of the Bond movies. Really cool, iconic gun. This gun is, I don't know, it just appeals to me. The first video I ever made was called Full Auto BB Gun, and you can't find it anymore because unfortunately back then I didn't keep it on my computer. It was on YouTube, and then when YouTube terminated the channel, and you can watch that video about that whole mess, terminated the channel for really no reason whatsoever other than controlling the airwaves, I guess you'd say, and different opinions and stuff on guns. Well, they terminated the channel, and I no longer have that world's smallest full auto BB gun. I tried finding it. I tried looking back in my iMovie library. Couldn't find it. Unfortunately, that one's gone forever. If you've downloaded it and saved it anywhere, please let me know. I'd love to put it up again on Vimeo. Anyways, here's the PPK. Really cool pistol. 9mm back in the day. James Bond, love that gun. All right, let's move on to, basically we're going to move on to revolvers, and I've got a bunch of different revolvers. So we're going to go with the old Crossman 357, right? This is an old school pellet BB gun. It's basically started out as a pellet gun with the magazines that come out. This design, you can still find it being used today in Crossman's guns. They have different newer versions of this gun that they call different names, but it's basically the same gun with the same frame, slightly different barrel and grips that you'll find on them. But the same gun. This one goes back decades. Really cool gun. This is a pellet version. We also have the Dan Wesson, and this is the 715. Nice gun. This one is shell loading. So it's shell loading. You could load either pellets or BBs, depending on your version, into these shells, put them right in, and it acts a lot like a real steel gun, including the loading of the shell. So really nice gun, Dan Wesson 715. They also have a 357 version. Can't really not mention the Dirty Harry 44 Magnum when you're talking about pistols, right? M92, or sorry, M29. This is the Dirty Harry style revolver. And you know, you're gonna find tons of different revolvers in shows. Back in the day, the police used to use the old 38 specials. Remember those? I don't have one here, but 38 specials, the old, you know, a lot of the detectives had the snub nose revolvers. They're still around today. People still use them, but because they hold either 5 or 6 rounds, people tend to gravitate more towards, you know, the semi-autos that have the high capacity magazines. And that kind of moves us into the old single action army. And this is probably one of my favorite just revolvers, just because it's so classic. And it is a single action gun, so you got to cock that hammer every time. You know, again, another shell loading gun. I don't have any shells in this one, but it's another shell loading gun. Replicating the old cowboy gun, right? The old single action army pistol back in the day. Really nice gun. If you don't have one of these, I'd recommend you get one. They're just a ton of fun to shoot. All right, so now we're getting into some other iconic guns that maybe aren't sold in mass quantities like some of these other ones, but the Desert Eagle for sure has to be mentioned, right? This is my gold version. Got to have a gold or silver, right? Desert Eagle, preferably gold, because gold is best. But nice gun. This is a full blowback gun with the big, huge magazine. This is an airsoft gun. As you can see, it's got the orange tip. I also have it here. Probably one of my first guns that I got. It might have been my second gun. I think the PPK was my first gun, if I'm not mistaken. This Desert Eagle. This is a pellet version, pellet shooting Desert Eagle that you put basically rotary magazines in. Shoots pellets at over 400 feet per second. Really, this gun is a tack driver. Super accurate. It actually makes a lot of noise because you're only going to get 3 or 4 magazines. I believe it's 8 rounds per magazine out of this gun because it's using a lot of CO2, but then you're getting a much higher velocity. And it actually, I wouldn't say it sounds like a 22 long rifle, but if you're using a 22 long rifle short round and you hear that little snap that you get from those guys, this kind of sounds like it. It's actually quite loud for an air gun. Last but not least, not really a pistol per se. It's the mini Uzi here, but you know, it is looked upon as a pistol. You do have the folding stock here, but you know, you can shoot it like a pistol. I had to mention it because it's kind of like a pistol, and this gun is tons of fun. Another gun that I got early on with the channel and reviewed way back in the day. Probably maybe my 4th or 5th gun. I'm not sure, but I had to have an Uzi, mini Uzi. This thing absolutely rocks. The blowback action is just absolutely ridiculous. Had a little C2 in there. Blowback action is absolutely ridiculous on this gun. Trying to hold it straight in full auto and hold it on target is a real chore, but it's a ton of fun. Again, all of these guns are a lot of fun in their own ways. So if you're not really sure what to get, hit us up with an email. Go check out replicairguns.ca for Canada, replicairguns.us for the US, where we carry pretty much most of these products. Some of them have come and gone. Most should be in stock, or at least some version of them in stock. So again, check out those links that I'll put in the description to buy products on the Canada and US website. Also check out replicairguns.com for articles, posts, reviews. For most of these guns, you're going to find a review, some sort of tabletop video review, or some sort of field test shooting video, or even multiple videos and reviews, because a lot of gun companies, airgun companies, they brand these guns with their own name. So you'll see, say, a 1911 being sold by KWC, you'll see it being sold by Umrex, you'll see it being sold by Sig, Gletcher. All these companies will have their own branded versions. So I generally make quite a few videos and reviews for a lot of these products, and they do overlap. So check it out. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, take care.